It's Murdaugh Monday, and we're going to talk about the boy in the box. Yeah, a really, really interesting case. Good morning, everybody. Crafting Journey here, the Journey Chick over on Instagram and on my second YouTube channel. I'm known as The Leftovers. This is kind of the off season for reselling, but well, for sourcing. I've been very lazy about sourcing, spending more money on products. I've been selling stuff like crazy, so it's working. How are you guys today? Did you have a great weekend? I did. Got a lot accomplished. This painting is so close to being finished. Oh my gosh. I'm super excited about that. I'm going to put the light pad on. Okay. So today, welcome back to another edition of Crafting and Creme Daily. If I didn't say that, I apologize. Please don't forget to hit the like button on your way in or out of the show today. And if you enjoyed the content, please hit the like button. Also, consider subscribing. It's free. I don't charge you a thing. Yeah. Okay. This light pad doesn't want to go on today. There we go. All right. So first thing we're going to talk about, I promised you guys in the live yesterday, we would talk about the boy in the box. This is a child who was found on the side of a road. This is in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. There was a young man walking along. He's checking his muskrat traps, and he sees this boy in a box. He doesn't say anything because he doesn't call the police because he thinks, oh, I'm going to get in trouble because of my traps. They're illegal. So he doesn't say anything. And then sometime later, a college student comes by and he sees this rabbit, and he knows there's traps out there, and he's chasing this rabbit. I don't know why he's chasing this rabbit, but he runs into this box. So the box is like this. It's a large box. It held a bassinet from JCPenney. And inside the box is this young boy. He was naked. He had been extremely beaten. He had bruising all over his body. He was malnourished. Although he had a haircut that appeared to be unprofessionally done, like just chopped off. Fingernails were clean, well groomed, but well, I don't know if you're well groomed if somebody could just cut your hair off, but surgical scars on his ankles, his groin, and under his chin. He had an L-shaped scar under his chin. And this all happened, the discovery of this body was in February of 1957. I wasn't even born yet, and you know how old I am. Yeah, 65 years ago, they found this little boy. And they never could identify him. The cause of death was ruled as blunt force trauma. He became known as the boy in the box, or America's, what else do they call him? America's unknown child. So sad. And they had developed a picture of what he might look like based on, what the autopsy and everything. They made him look clothed and cute little boy. So they buried him in a plot in a place called Potter's Field, which I believe is for indigents. I'm not for sure about that, or unknown people. In any case, they first tried to identify him by using fingerprints from his body, because we're talking 1957. They didn't have DNA technology back then. So fast forward, to 1998. Yeah, no, they worked on this thing for all these years. This thing has been an active investigation, and they just could not figure out, where did this boy come from? There was some different theories. There was one theory floated out there that they came from a foster home, and this foster home was about, I'm trying to get a pen. The foster home was like within the area. It was very close to where the body was found, and that was investigated pretty extensively, and it was ruled that no, the gentleman running the foster home, like all the kids that were supposed to be in this foster home were accounted for. So they just could not, those people were cleared. Then there was a lady named Martha that came forward, I think in 2002, and said that the boy in the box was her child, and she lived with her stepmother, and but she was a nut. And people that knew her said no, didn't happen. She never had a child. No, it was. So that was ruled out. So in 1998, they exhumed this little boy's body because now at 98, they can do DNA testing. Now, I will tell you, in 98, the DNA testing is different than the DNA testing they do today. Back then, I think they used 13 markers or 19 markers. DNA's changed over the years. When it first came out, they would go by 13 markers for a match, and then they would then they upped it to 19. Now I think it's 23 markers that they use for DNA. And we now have genetic genealogy. So in 98, they exhumed his body, took a tooth, and then they reburied him in a very, very nice cemetery, gave him a beautiful plot, a headstone, and it was all donated. And they still couldn't figure out who he was. Still could not figure it out in 98. So in 2019, they exhumed the body again, a second time, took more DNA, and then did the genetic genealogy, and were able to identify siblings of this child and parents. All of this has been identified. His name turned out to be Joseph Augustus Zarelli. And that's really all we know, because it's still an active investigation. They are investigating the parents, but I gotta tell you, he's old. This boy would have been older than me. He was. They said his birth date turned out to be January 13th, 1953. So, were he alive, he would be 69 years old. And so his parents, 70, 80, are in their 80s at least, if they're still alive. So, but I don't know how a child can go so long without being identified. Like, somebody must have known this child was missing, or I don't know. It's just crazy. So, yeah, they're still interviewing siblings, and because apparently there are quite a few siblings, and the siblings are probably not spring chickens either. So I'm so interested in the dynamics here. You know, what they learn about the family, the parents, because clearly this child was abused and died a horrendous death and just tossed. So sad. So sad. Anyway, that's the boy in the box. So we now know who he is. Now, it is Murdaugh Monday, which you guys always look forward to. Before we get to Murdaugh Monday, I will tell you, as we speak, in the Aaron Dean case, Aaron Dean, the Fort Worth police officer, who is alleged to have shot and murdered the young woman in her own home, a Tatiana Jefferson, 26 years old, in her own home playing video games. She hears a noise. She gets up and gets a gun out of her purse. She walks towards the window. At that point, the police, who have responded to her home because a neighbor called and said there was a door open, he wanted them to just go check on the people in the home, like a welfare check, but the dispatcher puts it out as an open structure call, which required the police officers to treat it as a silent alarm. So they get to the house, the door is open, supposedly because the young boy that was in the house, the 8-year-old nephew of a Tatiana, who she was watching, he's playing video games too. He's on his Switch playing video games. He was allowed to cook hamburgers, and he burned them because he puts them in the oven. They forget about them, and then next thing you know, there's smoke coming out of the oven. So they open the doors, and then they go back to their video games. They forget to close the doors. I can tell you, being a gamer, entirely probable, because those games are rabbit holes, man. You can just get sucked in, and hours can pass before you know it. So anyway, she is shot and killed when the officers are doing a perimeter search around her home. They get to the home. They look in the home. It is a wreck, an absolute wreck. And so I heard someone in a chat mention, well, God forbid someone would look into my house at 2 a.m. When I was raising children and see a mess. I've raised 2 kids. My house never looked like that at any time of the day. Sorry. No. Just didn't happen. Anyway, so they're thinking that someone has broken into this place. There's someone inside. So they're walking around the perimeter. He sees her with the gun. He tells her to put her hands up. He doesn't give her a second before he shoots her. Put your hands up. Get your hands up. Boom. Shoots her. No time for her to respond. He says he saw her with the gun. He saw that she was raising the gun. So that the prosecution rested their case last Wednesday, and because the defense was a little surprised that they rested their case so soon without testimony of a lot of people that they probably had on their witness list, it was very strange that they rested their case with no experts, nobody to talk about training, how, what was the proper procedure for response to this call, what should he have done, how should he have handled. None of that kind of evidence came in on the prosecution side. But they have rebuttal. So the defense said, we're not ready. Our experts, we didn't, they're not available yet because they're out of town. So the judge recessed the case till today. So as we speak now, as I'm speaking to you now, here Monday morning, it's around, what time is it? I don't even know. Time flies when you're having fun. It's 10:30. Aaron Dean is on the stand in his own defense, and they're walking him through that day, other calls that he went through, and they haven't, to my knowledge, I was listening to it, they haven't got to the actual event yet with him, but should be interesting. Very, very interesting. All right, and there is another new trial that started today. This is a trial of a midwife. Her name is Angela Hawk. She delivered a child at home. She was not a certified midwife. Like in most states, all states that I know of, you have to be a registered nurse and you have additional training to become a midwife. She did not have any of that. She just said she would attend your birth and help you out. But so she had already attended one of this woman's births in which the baby came breech. So she already knew this woman had had a breech before this event. So she gets pregnant again. She has this lady come attend to her again. And here comes the baby breech. So she calls an ambulance and tries to get the mom to a hospital. The baby's actually born in the ambulance and then dies after that. So they charge her with murder. So this is going to be a very, very interesting case. Can't wait to bring it to you. Okay, now we can talk about Murdaugh Monday. This trial is so close to coming to fruition. So many things that we learned this week in Murdaugh Monday. So first of all, we learned from some of the motions that went on back and forth and that have been filed by the prosecution and the defense that the motive, prosecution is going to say that and they don't have to prove motive. It's not an element of murder in South Carolina, but they're going to say that the motive for these murders of Paul, his son Paul, and his wife Maggie were to deflect the attention away from his financial crimes, which we know he's charged with like 90 different counts of financial, stealing clients' money. So that was his motive. Yeah. So they're going to try to get the financial crimes into this case. I will be interested to see if the judge allows that to come in, given that they really don't have to prove motive. But we'll see. Then there was a hearing on Thursday or Friday. I don't remember. But a lengthy hearing. And the attorney for Alec Murdaugh is Dick Harpootlian. And he could talk the ear off a donkey, and he talks slow, and he's got the southern drawl, and you're just like, oh, this is boring. Oh my God. You're just like, ugh. Anyway, so it was so hard to listen to. So he's arguing about this shirt that Alex had on that night, that was tested by the prosecution for high velocity blood impact splatter from the murders. And what he said was there were 2 reports issued about this shirt. The initial report said there was no blood on this shirt. Then the final report comes out and says, yeah, there's blood on the shirt. Then the prosecution said, hey, we didn't know there was 2 reports. What do you mean there's 2? They tell the judge, we didn't even know there were 2 reports. What's this other report? Didn't know about it. So, and then the other thing about the shirt is the prosecution wanted to have their own testing done on the shirt, but come to find out, the shirt was completely destroyed in the testing done by the prosecution. There's nothing left to test, which is so unusual. So the motion was to exclude this shirt from the trial. Now, we don't know how the judge is going to rule on that, because it remains to be seen whether the prosecution decides they're going to bring it in or not. The prosecution has said, we've got a good case even without this shirt. We don't need the shirt. Here's what they have. We found out that there's a video that was found on Paul Murdaugh's phone, Alec's son that was murdered. It was found on his phone, taken that night, minutes before they think the murders occurred. Minutes. Like, Paul is out in the kennel at Moselle, their property Moselle. He's out at the kennels, and he's filming this dog that belongs to a friend of his, and the dog was injured, and he was out here in the kennels to rest and recover, I guess. So it's a chocolate lab. He's filming the chocolate lab to show to his friend, and then you hear another dog barking, and it runs by with a chicken in its mouth or something. I don't know, and then you hear 3 different people talking. You hear Paul, you hear Maggie, and you hear Alec talking about whether this is a chicken or something else. I don't know. And Paul's saying Alec is saying it's a guinea, and Maggie and Paul are saying no, it's a chicken. And so that places Alec at the scene of the murder right before they occurred, which he says he wasn't there. He was visiting his mom, watching Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune or whatever. Interesting. I can't wait to see this video. He's not seen on the video. You can just hear his voice. But I've been told that multiple people have heard the voice and said, yes, that is Alec Murdaugh. There's no question. That's his voice. Interesting. And what else? Okay. So how did the judge rule? There was a bunch of motions that were heard last week in the court. So first of all, when we were waiting for these hearings to start, someone in the chat on Long Crime says, where's the defendant? Is he not coming to this hearing? And I'm thinking, he's right there. The thing is, he wasn't in his jail garb. He's in a regular blazer and shirt and unshackled. Well, the defense had moved in a prior hearing that They would like for the defendant to be unshackled during pretrial hearings and at trial. So clearly the judge had made his ruling that yes, he could be unshackled during proceedings. So the jury will not know that he's incarcerated. However, I don't think there's a person alive in South Carolina, first of all, that doesn't know who Alec Murdaugh is, and second of all, doesn't know that he's in jail. Okay, that being aside, he did not rule on the shirt because we don't even know if the prosecution's going to offer this shirt into evidence. Now, if they try to put the shirt into evidence during the trial, at that point, I think the judge will make a ruling. There'll be lots of arguments, I'm sure. Then the judge on his... Oh, the other thing was he said he ordered that the prosecution produce everything they have related to that shirt. All communication they have related to that shirt. Emails, texts, whatever you have related to that shirt, you have to give it to the defense. Interesting. Then the judge, on his own, without a motion of the court, ruled that, first of all, it's a very small town. It's so a county. So inside this courtroom, Alex Murdaugh's father, grandfather, everybody has been solicitors in this county, which is equivalent to like the state attorney. So there's a huge portrait of Buster Murdaugh, his grandfather, in the back of the courtroom for all to see. So the judge said that painting will be taken down during the trial. I'm like, that's cool. I agree with that. I agree. That should not be there during this trial. It's just, I don't know. It's just rubs me the wrong way. It just really does. Anyway, so that is going to be removed for the trial. And that's it. Yeah. So let's have some coffee and talk about this day in history. In 1980, American oil tycoon Armand Hammer purchases for $5,126,000 a notebook containing 70 pages and 300 written notes about water and how water moves. Yes, this is what he paid for this. But this notebook was from 1508 and was written by Leonardo da Vinci. Now, it's thought that he used this notebook to draw the background for the painting Mona Lisa. And it was all in brown ink and chalk, 300 different illustrations and detailed illustrations and writings, all about the common theme of water and how water moves. Fascinating. So Armand Hammer, upon his death, he made it part of his own personal collection. The person that sold it to him had it for many, many years, but needed to pay taxes. And so he was selling this to pay taxes on a lot of his artwork. So, and they thought the notebook was going to go anywhere from $7 million to $20 million. But Armand Hammer, who said, I thought I was going to have to pay a lot more, got away with it for $5.1 million. And the guy that sold it to him said, I still don't have enough money to pay my taxes. Anyway, Armand Hammer dies in 1990 and donates this book to, as part of the collection, donates his artwork to the Armand Hammer Museum of Art and Cultural Center at the UCLA campus. And they ended up having to sell the thing to pay their legal fees, because Armand Hammer's widow said, he didn't leave me enough money to cover my portion of, whatever. So there was a lot of lawsuits going back and forth. So they said, we're just going to sell this thing. So they sold it for $30.8 million in 1994 to Bill Gates. $30.8 million for a notebook about water. I know, it's Da Vinci. Okay, so that is this day in history, guys. I hope you had a great time during the show today. I will see you tomorrow in Crafting and Crime Daily. I've got so much to talk about tomorrow. Oh my gosh, this is a good day at Law and Crime. I need to get there and get watching. Yeah. So have a great day, everybody. Bye.